So I am here again, guys, to discuss the human resource planning process. So it consists of forecasting, goal setting and strategic planning, and program implementation and evaluation. Forecasting is the first step, which goal is to predict areas within the organization where there will be future labor shortage or surplus. They are determining three areas of labor. First is determining labor demand, where the planner seeks information to predict if the job category will increase or not, considering the required skills for the job. They use leading indicator to accurately predict labor demand. Next is labor supply, wherein the analysis of labor demand will affect the promotions, terminations, and other changes of labor that will also project on the labor supply. They use transitional matrix, a matrix showing the number of employees in different job categories at different times. It is used for charting trends in the company's supply labor and can be used in the future. However, it is not always a reliable indicator for the future. Last is determining labor shortage or surplus. It is where they will compare figures to identify if it is a labor shortage or surplus to a specific job category. This is where they will pull up a plan on what to do about the dilemma that might arise. The second step is goal setting and strategic planning. This is where setting specific quantitative goals will follow to focus attention on the issue and provide a successful solution to a pending labor shortage or surplus. The goal should be based on labor supply and demand analysis, and it should be detailed. This is critical stage due of the various options available. As you can see, there is downsizing, pay reductions, transfers, overtime, outsourcing, and many more that differ in speed, human suffering, revocability, effectiveness, and expense. In the past decade, it is unfortunate to workers that the response to labor surplus is downsizing. It is the planned termination of large number of employees. It is very effective to an organization as they will save money because they have less people to pay and less costing on their resources. However, it has negative impact for financial, physical, psychological aspects of the workers. Next is early retirement programs and buyouts. This is another mean to reduce labor surplus. It is where companies offer early retirement where the employees will receive compensations or incentives to retire ahead of the schedule. This will help the organization to have less expenses due of having a high medical costs and contributions of other employees. Despite that fact, company will lose a wealth of experience and stability that poses a problem. Downsizing and early retirement programs and buyouts are popular methods to reduce labor surplus. On the other hand, labor shortages can be eliminated by the widespread means, which is hiring temporary workers and outsourcing. Hiring temporary workers is where the part-time workers fall off. It is a flexible employment to operate as it offers several advantages, such as it will reduce training costs and eases transition as employees are already trained. Temporary workers have perspective to the organization problems that is valuable. On the other hand, it has a disadvantage that is needed to overcome to be effective. It can reduce level of customer loyalty and has a low level of commitment to the organization. Let's move on and talk about outsourcing, offshoring, and immigration. So first, outsourcing is hiring an outside organization to perform a vast service that is traditionally performed by in-house employees. It is a cost-cutting measure, that is why it is a logical choice. Many companies increasingly outsource as they have the access to skilled people, improve service, and be flexible in terms of staffing. Offshoring is moving the business or job from one country to another. It allows an organization to focus on strategizing business growth. However, organizations should think about the risk of offshoring because of quality control problems, security violations, and poor customer service experiences that might happen. If ever it is unavailable to bring the business overseas, they can feel labor shortages by hiring a qualified American. Though, there are limitations for hiring them due to the regulations of the United States. Also, employers need to process their worker visa and show that there are no qualified for the job. Altering pay hours. Companies who face a shortage in labor and can't hire full-time or part-time worker opt to add more working hours to their employees. Extending periods would equate to additional compensation. However, it may cause stress and frustration to the employees. In the side of a labor surplus, pay cuts could be effective to avoid layoffs. Program implementation and evaluation is the last step wherein the plans will be implemented. Individuals who are part of the process should be held accountable in order for them to achieve their goals. Reports of progress should be done regularly to make sure that the programs are in place and in line. The final step in planning the process is to evaluate the results, if it is beneficial for the organization and people or not.
Lesson 2. Human Resource Recruitment is a process of looking for potential employees that are suitable in a particular position in a particular company. There are different ways to recruit people: personal policies, internal versus external recruiting, extrinsic and intrinsic rewards, and image advertising. Personal policies. This system makes the recruitment just and unbiased. Second is internal versus external recruiting or job security. Recruiters promote within internally to fill up the vacancy in the higher ups rather than recruiting externally. Third is extrinsic and intrinsic rewards. This system uses monetary in recruiting employees. Oftentimes, companies that use the market approach often hire minimum wages than the current minimum wage. And last, image advertising. Oftentimes, companies use image advertising just to promote their company. Companies usually do this when they are in a very highly competitive labor market. Recruitment sources is where companies usually look for potential employees. There are different sources and their pros and cons as to where companies find for it if the following are internal versus external resources. There are different advantages when you hire people internally. First is applicants really know the firm. Applicants already have enough knowledge about this job vacancy in the company. It is a lot cheaper and faster when you hire people from the firm. And lastly, those applicants that have already worked for the company often outperform those new applicants. Externally, internal recruitment sometimes do not suffice the position for entry-level or upper-level positions. Broader and new ideas would be brought to be table once the company recruit externally. Lastly, this strengthens one's own company and weakens one's competitors at the same time. This is called counter-cyclical hiring. Second recruitment sources is direct applicants and referrals. Direct applicants are those who directly go to an organization to apply for job vacancy. Referrals are those who are helped by people in the organization so they could apply for the job vacancy. advertisements in newspapers and periodicals. This type of source is to recruit employees is usually expensive. However, more methods should be used because directly and referral resources do not suffice the number of applicants needed in the company. Electronic recruiting. With new age and modern technology, this type of source can be found on the company's webpage. Public and private employment agencies. Both agencies serve as referrals to companies they serve. Public agencies serve for the blue-collar labor market, whereas private agencies serve the white-collar labor market. Lastly, colleges and universities. Most fresh graduates get help from their universities or colleges when they graduate from their respective colleges. Most help they get from internship or university job fairs. Evaluating the quality of a source is where the employers check the quality of their sources. To accomplish this, they should be able to compare and develop yield ratios, expressing the percentage of potential employees who moved on to the next stage of recruitment. Different sources have to be compared its yield ratios, so employers would which is the most efficient and effective way of getting applicants. Recruiters. Characteristics and behaviors may not impact the job choices of applicants. These are the following reasons. Recruiter's functional area, recruiter's traits, and recruiter's realism.
And now, we'll talk about recruitment metrics. So what is a recruitment metrics? So these are the measurements used to track hiring success and optimize the process of hiring candidates for an organization. It is also essential part of the data-driven hiring and recruitment. So in HR department, there are actually 51 recruitment metrics existing. But now, we're just gonna talk about 19 most relevant recruiting metrics. The first one is the time to fill. So this refers to the time it takes to find and hire a new candidate, often measured by the number of days between publishing a job opening and hiring the candidate. It is a great metric for business planning and offers a realistic view for the manager to assess the time it will take to attract a replacement for a departing employee. So meaning, it is the number of days between publishing a job opening and hiring the candidate. So next one is time to hire. This represents the number of days between the moment of a candidate is approached and the moment the candidate accepts the job. In other words, it measures the time it takes for someone to move through the hiring process once they have applied. A shorter time often enables you to hire better candidates, preventing the best candidates from being snatched up by a company that does have a short time to hire. It also impacts your candidate experience as nobody likes a recruiting process that takes a long time. Next one is the source of hire. Tracking the sources which attract the new hires to your organization is one of the most popular recruitment metrics. This metric also helps to keep track of the effectiveness of different recruiting channels, meaning it is the sourcing channel used to attract the hire. Next is the first year attrition. First year attrition is a key recruiting metric and also indicates hiring success. Candidates will leave in their first year work, fail to become fully productive, and usually cost lots of money. First year attrition can be managed and unmanaged, meaning managed attrition means that a contract is terminated by the employer, and unmanaged attrition means that they leave on their own accord. This metric can also be turned around as candidate retention rate. Next one is the quality of hire. It is often measured by someone's performance rating, gives an indicator of first year performance of a candidate. So the quality of hire is the input of the success ratio. The success ratio divides the number of hires who perform well by the total number of candidates hired. A high success ratio means that the most of the hired candidates perform well. However, a low ratio means that you need to fine-tune your selection process. The success ratio is used as an input for the recruitment utility analysis. This analysis enables you to calculate the return on investment or the ROI for different selection instruments. Next one is the hiring manager satisfaction. In line with the quality of hire, hiring manager satisfaction is another recruitment metric that indicative of successful recruiting metrics. To calculate the hiring manager satisfaction, it needs the number of hires who perform well divided by total number of hires. Next one is the candidate job satisfaction. It is an excellent way to track whether the expectations set during the recruitment procedure match reality. A low candidate job satisfaction highlights mismanagement of expectation for incomplete job descriptions. Next one is the applicants per opening. A large number of applicants could indicate a high demand for jobs in that particular area or a job description that is too broad. The number of applicants per opening is not necessarily an indicator of the number of suitable candidates. By narrowing the job description and including the number of hard criteria, the number of applicants can be reduced without reducing the number of suitable candidates. To calculate this, you need the total number of applicants divided by number of job openings. Next one is the selection ratio. This refers to the number of hired candidates compared to the total number of candidates. This ratio is also called the submittals to hire ratio. The selection ratio is very similar to the number of applicants per opening. When there's a high number of candidates, the ratio approaches 0. The selection ratio provides information such as the value of different assessment and recruitment tools and can be used to estimate the utility of a given selection and recruitment system. To quantify the selection ratio, number of hired candidates divided by total number of candidates. Next one is the cost per hire. The cost per hire recruitment metric is the total cost invested in hiring divided by the number of hires. Cost per hire consists of multiple cost structures which can be divided by internal and external costs. By quantifying all of them, you can calculate the total recruitment cost. Next one is the candidate experience. Candidate experience is the way that job seekers perceive an employer's recruitment and onboarding process. And it is often measured using a candidate experience survey. Next one is the offer acceptance rate. It compares the number of candidates who successfully accepted a job offer with the number of candidates who receive an offer. Next one is the percentage of open positions. It is compared to the total number of positions can be applied to the specific departments or to the entire organization. A high percentage can be indicative of high demand, for example, due to fast growth or low labor market supply. So to calculate the number of open positions, you need to divide the total number of open positions to the total number of positions in the organization. Next one is the application completion rate. It is especially interesting for organizations with elaborate online recruitment systems. This recruitment metric shows you how many individuals finish your application form. To quantify the application completion rate, you need to divide the total number of applications to the number of submitted applications. Next one is the recruitment funnel effectiveness. This metric will measure the effectiveness of all the different steps in the funnel. You can specify in a yield ratio. The recruiting funnel changed a lot over the last few years. In other words, expect this funnel to change over time. Next one is the sourcing channel effectiveness. It will help you to measure the conversion per channel by comparing the percentage of applications with the percentage of impressions of the positions. You can quickly judge the effectiveness of different channels. Next one is the sourcing channel cost. This refers to the efficacy of the various job boards or media platforms you use to advertise your job post. The reason for tracking this metric is significant There are hundreds of options for sourcing candidates, but depending on your industry or organization, some sources will be more productive and giving more higher quality candidates than others. To calculate the cost efficiency of the various sourcing channels, recruiters combine ad spend with the amount of money invested in their advertisement. Next one is the cost of getting the optimum productivity level, or what we call OPL. It is the total cost involved in getting someone up to speed. This includes things like onboarding costs, training costs, the cost of survivors, and co-workers involved in OJT and more. To quantify the total cost of involved in getting someone up to speed, we need to add onboarding costs, training costs, cost of supervision, and cost of on-the-job training, plus the total labor of cost multiplied by number of OPL per month until 100% OPL is reached. And the last one is the time to productivity. Time to productivity, or what we call time to optimum productivity level. It will measure how long it takes to get people up to speed and productive. It is time between the first day of hiring and the point where the employee fully contributes to the organization.